Okay, and then I'm just having to admit people from the waiting room. So I'll try to keep an eye on that, Sal, while you run the meeting.
I can put the participants tab up. That'll show me too. I'll try to keep an eye on it as well.
Cool, thank you.
It does seem to still not be working right
Oh,
because
wait, I think I can disable the waiting room. I have disabled the waiting room. Okay, so hopefully people should just be able to come in. We'll see if that works.
I'm kind of happy we're figuring this out in this call and not the community call.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, cool. I think we can start whenever you're ready, Sal.
Setting up a second monitor. All right. Okay. Uh, Everyone's getting in their attendance. So on the agenda here, practitioner guide updates. Don, it looks like you're working on a viability guide.
Yes, I just started the viability guide with the idea that Gary White has done all the hard work because he did all the metrics models and wrote a bunch of blog posts about viability. But we're not really using the metrics models as much anymore, so I wanted to turn it into a guide. So I've started to work on that. And then I think Callie was looking at the usage and adoption guide. I'm not sure if anything's happened there yet.
No, I've been ill since I got back from
Oh no.
Amsterdam.
Okay, fair. And then the university working group has also been working on a research software impact guide. So we're making good progress on some of the guides. And I tend to sometimes, I think we forget to talk about them here in the data science working group, even though they are data science working group projects. So I wanted to just get better about giving some updates. Okay, that's all I've got on the practitioner guides.
Oh, the university working group inspired one of my last blogs. I
Oh,
enjoyed that discussion on academic open source.
Would
Um,
would any of them be willing to come and like talk about their guide in the data science working group? I feel like I'd like with these guides, I'd be curious. I appreciate hearing people talk about their concepts verbally before like being deeper in like the review process or like trying to contribute. I guess I definitely benefit from hearing some more like yeah, somebody talk about what they're working on for 5 to 10 minutes. What are their goals, concepts? It makes it easier to like collaborate on these for me.
okay, cool. I'll put that on my to-do list and reach out and see if Matt or Claire or someone is available from that group.
Excellent. And for project updates, we'll come back to the foundation stats because we have a presentation for it. But any updates on forks and relicensing or and archiving?
Yeah, I can give a quick
Excellent.
yeah, I can give a quick update on the forks and relicensing. I'm starting to look at PRs, so things like time to first response, time to close, close versus merge rates. Because I don't have access to an Augur database, I'm just gathering the data via the GitHub GraphQL API. So I've got most of the data gathered, but I'm having to do all of the hard work that's done in Augur to try and get the data wrangled and handle some of the edge cases. But I'm working on that. So that's where we are right now. I'm also starting to look into other rug pulls to better understand related events. So things like why didn't the MongoDB and Sentry have successful forks after relicensing? I'm also going to look at the Perforce Puppet rug pull and the OpenBox fork. I spent some quality time chatting with someone who used to work at MongoDB and then worked at Perforce, and he worked on Perforce's MongoDB product, or I guess it's a product, it's a service. So he gave me some really interesting insights. It's allowed me to look into it a little more, into a little more detail. So I've been working on some of that. Sean, you got your hand up?
I was just going to say for Augur data, I think we've got it running pretty easily on a Docker container now. So like getting small scale logger data is pretty easy.
It's not small scale though. It's Elasticsearch and OpenSearch. It's a shit ton of data.
Oh, I
And
mean,
it's Redis.
just those two though shouldn't take too long.
No, and
Yeah.
it's Redis and Valkey
Oh,
and
okay, yeah.
OpenTofu and Terraform. These are huge projects. I can't run
Yeah.
these. It would be expensive for me to run this in a Docker container somewhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've already talked with Dawn and I have talked about it that if she wants to have access, like we're at the point where she wanted to have access to ours, yes, but all of the research and stuff is already set up for gathering the data in the other way, which I completely understand not wanting to change processes midway through. Makes sense.
yeah,
Because
I
I've
know.
written most of the code and now I'm just kind of cleaning up and handling edge cases. So,
That's good.
and then no progress on the archive project. I'm not sure the value of doing this. It takes a lot of work to look at these projects manually and figure out why they've been archived. So I'm not sure that I'm not sure there's a real project there. So I've just kind of put it on the back burner and to focus on other things. And I don't know, maybe we'll come back to it at some point. Callie.
I was just gonna say, I feel like maybe it'd be like kind of to talk about what the value is and like identifying. I think there is something to do with like analyzing archives that is valuable. I think it'd be like I don't want to do it right now because my brain doesn't work very well. But in one of their meetings, maybe like spending like 15 minutes just like talking about archives and how you would detect them and what the value is. It might just end with the conversation being like, we don't really need to do much here. But it feels like there might be something interesting to do with analyzing even like like things that are like archive versus abandoned, and if there's a way of like really like detecting that, because I think there's a that kind of goes into um like a from like a viability, if we're starting to talk about like projects that are like viable to depend on, like in some ways I think like an archive project that is left in a stable state is something that is you might consider still using. If we're being honest with ourselves, we all like there's dependencies in all of our stacks that have like archive projects versus abandoned, like how do we identify abandoned projects, because those are actually a lot bigger of a concern, at least to me. If it's just like left in the air and there's like dependency, like there's like there might be some vulnerability issues, things like that, something that is purposefully archived has maybe a contact point still around and available. Can we identify the difference between archived and abandoned? Because I think there's also probably projects that are marked as archived and they're really just kind of abandoned and they were just someone just changed the setting. Versus there's probably projects that aren't marked as archived that are actually just more purposefully close, like not having any development, but are in a stable spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if we continue with this, I think it probably requires sort of a new approach because
Yes.
one of the so basically what I did was I took the top 1,000 archive projects or something like that, top 700 archive projects on GitHub, and it was projects that have been archived, so they've had that archive flag set. But I ran into problems trying to kind of automatically detect the state of some of these because in a lot of cases, like they'll have a relatively recent push, but it'll be a push to update the README to let people know that it was archived. And then like a period of, abandonment before. And so and some of them, it's just like uh, like the maintainer or whatever just loses interest. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to work on this
Mm-hmm.
anymore and just archives it. So there are a whole bunch of different reasons that they were archived and they have very different sort of characteristics. And so
Yeah.
I think we would need to probably just start over and maybe think more about what the value that we're going to get out of that research is, and then come up with a better research design. Because I think the path that we're on right now, I don't think it's going to be great.
Yeah. I guess that's what I was trying to say is I think it might be worth just kind of like like having kind of a 20-30 minute throwing like kind of talking about different things. Is there a value in this? For me, the value I see is more from like if we're trying to determine if you're like I think people are talking a lot about, do I have vulnerabilities in my stack? Is like kind of like, what are the vulnerabilities? What are the concerns in my stack? And being able to, is there actually a way that we can group projects of being like carefully archived and like being stable to like, or I guess like something that is no longer being developed but is stable to use versus something that is no longer being developed and was just abandoned. I think there's a value in being able to detect that, and there might not be, but I think it's worth the 20, 30-minute discussion, throwing around ideas, seeing if there's something that comes up. Because if we're talking about like viability, I think this kind of like links into like viability and like security analysis. And I think that those are becoming like bigger and bigger things, especially with like the new working group that's looking at like analyzing, like if we're talking about like analyzing S bombs. It was surprise to none of us is that there's going to be a whole lot of these projects that are in this like no man's land state. And can we group them or not? And the my answer might be we can't.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that what this is sounding like is like this would be really appropriate for like a master's level comp sci or security student. Because this is going, it's a focus on a subject that could add value, but in terms of like Linux Foundation developer time, if it is already archived, like labeled as archived, then that is an intention for it not to be used in production.
Yeah.
So, but it would be more interesting if we could get a proper profile on this. The problem is, I think the level of manual labor and the man level of personal contact that we would have to do, because you have to go out and find the non-labeled reason for the archival, which an individual could do, but this is going to take a year or two of deep
Yeah.
investigation.
Yeah. I think
Okay,
that's
so I tell you what I'll do. I'll put it on I've just added a future agenda items section to the notes. So how about if we just go ahead and add that? We can think about it next couple of weeks and maybe add it to the next agenda, if that works for.
yeah, because even like writing all of this out, and because it could be like a year or two project, but I do think that we get people that pop in to this working group or in chaos in general, are like, oh, what can I work on? And I think this is a good like thing to have like with some little bit of scaffolding. It's
Yeah.
also something that I wouldn't be 100% surprised if like within Red Hat we end up going down, like end up working on this more, because I think this is going to become more and more important as the S-bomb conversation continues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Python developers, stop using that thing someone made 8 years ago and then never made a PR to again. Stop using it.
Please.
Totally.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So it sounds like forks and relicensing is coming along with some bigger compute behind it. Archive, we're going to rethink. Now, for the project update around foundation stats, we have a couple of slides to share from Ernest and myself. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second and then throw those slides on the screen for us to go over. Okay, should be starting a slideshow momentarily. There we go. So Ernest will introduce themselves in the next slide, but we're covering a little bit around the foundation stats, what we covered in August. I'm going to do the first few slides of this, but to get us started, we have this new repo up, which is a fresh, clean start to the foundation stats. We are covering the ecosystems of CNCF, Apache Software Foundation, and the Eclipse Foundation. Our interest there is to capture all of the information that is easily API accessible, but also the communication mechanisms that they use, like blogs and Slack, so that we can get a total understanding of which aspects of those allow these to succeed. And I will let Ernest introduce themselves on this slide.
Yeah, thank you, Sal, and good day, everyone, once again. I hope you can all hear me. So I'm Ernest Ojari, and I'll be working with Sal on the foundational staff project, and currently I'm also an LFX mentee on the hotel community where I'm trying to build the template for communication and insight for them. And before that, I like to see myself as a data and product professional where I have interest in human behavioral research, how human behaviors have changed in digital product and online communities, in which open source communities is an important part of that. Thank you.
Excellent. And I am also providing sort of background support around this. My primary interest in this is both the data and also seeing if we can set up repositories so that they fit a like open science and reproducibility standard, particularly for anything that could be research that can be done again. So if I can create a pipeline that I can run again every quarter, that's going to be more interesting to me. So that's what we're aiming at. Now, our motivation here, we've got some access to some interesting data, and we don't have easy access to their communication channels. We really want to line those up and see if we can add those to the CHAOSS health metrics. And that is proving slightly more challenging than we had hoped, but we are finding our ways around that. So what we really want to achieve on the broadest scale here is to be able to map communication infrastructure to specifically right now the Apache Software Foundation projects, because this is the most challenging data set to get it from. Once we have that, an alignment with CHAOSS health metrics, then really this slide is speaking to the end of this, but then I want to just look at how do those look different between these three foundations, and then do we have enough of a pattern based on communication channels as the addition here to see if there are at-risk projects before they lose contributors. If we could figure out that posture, that would be a really nice sort of blog or white paper to pull out of this. So yeah, trying to get to a predictive state with this data, which we can theoretically do because there is enough data points to give it to us. With that, I will step back for a second and let Ernest tell you about what his August looked like.
Yeah, so since the beginning of August, we've been trying to put the structure of this research together, and in the same way we kick off by trying to, because we know that we don't have issues with Eclipse and CNCF data points. I believe that the previous hackathon that was held had those data were clearly measured. And but for the Apache, we've tried to create a flow that says because there's a JSON dump for Apache, we get the JSON dump, and it's not sufficient of what the Apache ecosystem actually contains. So we went ahead to create a script that crawls and extracts some of the additional data points that are not present in the big JSON dump. And the end goal is to clean that data set and align it with CHAOSS metrics. So right now we are preparing an automated crawling, which will be probably retried maybe quarterly or monthly. We'll decide on the frequency of that. Then we are using that by using an LLM scraper that we call Crawl for AI that gives us an output of a markdown or HTML, and we try to save that in an archive for the reproducibility and for validation in case anyone wants to help us with that. So afterwards, we now want to be able to classify blogs, mailing lists, communication portals, and any other important communication metrics that we could add to what we currently have. So the goal of the pipeline is to make it automated so that we won't have to do a lot of manual entries. Next slide. Yeah, so currently we've been able to get about 361 Apache projects from their respective websites. We extracted that from the JSON. Every JSON has URL to each individual Apache project. So picking up those individual projects, we now wrote a crawler that gets the markdown and HTML file exported into a folder on Google Drive, where, like I said earlier, for reproducibility, and afterwards we now extract the important communication metric that we needed from there. So that is currently at work, but we are trying to make it perform to the level that we want. So which is what we would do before we automate it. Next slide. Yeah, so early results. So from the 361 projects, we've been able to extract about 780 unique links that cut across blogs, Slack community URLs, and several other communication, which is some of the bullet points that are here. We have the community portals, the mailing list for most Apache projects, and few of them that have Slack channels. And we already see that some of them are missing, which we will present better when we start to present things in tables, which is part of our research plan anyways. So we already see those patterns and we look forward to communicating them into more tables in the future. Next slide. Yeah, and we have a current limitation, which is first, we notice that some of the JSON dump have repetition of names. I mean, for example, not exactly Airflow, for example, but not Airflow in this case. I did not record the particular project. Some of them are repeating itself, and we need to find out why that is happening in the URL. And we also notice that some URLs are missing, and it's giving us incomplete. We are not able to match up the 361 URLs, the projects that we had. There was some deficiencies that we needed to find out what was wrong with that. I've seen that duplicate is one of the reasons, but we are still digging deep to be sure that we have an exhaustive list of the cause of the problems. And next we will now try to compare across different foundations, which is not yet complete. And ahead of us, we have the opportunity to do some statistical modeling, that we call predictive modeling here. So this is still the early stage of the results, and we look forward to presenting more insightful ones. Next slide, please. Yeah, so currently we would appreciate our help from collaborators across automating the current pipeline that we have. Also, when we are done automating that, the next step will be to prepare ourselves for modeling, and we've earmarked Markov chain regression and topic modeling as part of the methodologies we'll be using. And from those results, we will be presenting edge cards for leadership and some cross-foundational insights, which I believe we would appreciate help from developers, data scientists, open source practitioners, and even researchers to build the next layer of these insights. Yeah, so the next step will be that we are cleaning and deduplicating the issues we have, aligning, comparing the projects across the 3 foundations and the edge cards. Yeah, for me, I will pass it over back to Sir.
I will unmute myself. Yeah, so I promised that I was going to get an issue up to link directly to this before this call, and I did not. But the 2 next things that we're really looking for assistance are anyone that has experience really with automated web scraping, so that we could make this a little bit cleaner. That's going to really make this a reproducible pipeline instead of a one-off data set. And then the second thought here, I am running an event in London called Nightmares Before Coding that I will publicize after this. And it's on October 30th. So we could coordinate with that and do a like online/live hackathon. The online hackathons, though, if we were to do it that style, I'm happy to do it any time or day that works well with the general community. Late October is going to be our perfect time, because that's well in enough time for us to get these data sets all the way together, and then just have people start exploring and finding interesting connections within the total data set. So help with that potential event planning as well. Those are the 2 things that we could use to get this project through. Really, our motivations here are to see if we can finish this project by like November 1st to November 15th, like closing it out and at least putting it in a space where someone else can take it over with that data readily available or ready to be updated. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. And then I think this is going to be a pretty easy slide for most of the people on this call to understand. But best way to get involved is to reach out on the working group Slack. You can reach out to Ernest or myself on that Slack as a DM as well, but keeping it open and public makes it easier for us to answer questions. And this is the link to that public repository. So if you have any help to offer, know anyone who might be good to offer help on this, or number 3, see any wheels that we might be recreating when we could just go borrow an open source one, let me know. Go ahead.
Where are y'all at in the like figuring out web scraping process? Like if y'all started like are y'all wanting help like identifying good packages to use for web scraping? Or yeah, I just want to understand that.
Yeah, so Ernest has played with us just a little bit more this week. Ernest, where is that sitting right now?
Sorry, you want me to answer that?
Yes, so for the state of the web scraping right now, are you happy with what you're using for web scraping and just want to sort of tune it up a little bit? Or do you want just advisement around like best packages to use to maybe build infrastructure out? So like
Oh,
trying a new MVP or building what you have.
yeah, of course. I would be glad to get more ideas on probably better tools. But the current tool I'm using is called for AI. I'm going to check the document now. I'm just sending it to this chat. So for me, the tool works and it works really fast, except for the case where I'm trying to use LLM to extract some useful because I initially thought LLMs could do the extraction of for me if I could give you the right instruction, but it was too expensive to complete. I needed to get the some free LLMs, which are always limited. So and this one is a little bit consuming on the memory, and also I just had to revert back to using extracting the Markdown or the HTML from the website and writing my own extraction with beautiful soup or regex to now get exactly what I needed, which I believe is less expensive for me. But those are the two approaches I've tried with the game too. But I'm obviously more than happy to explore that one. I actually did explore Firecrawl, but I was not enjoying the result I was getting from there. So I just reverted back to Crawl for AI. So I'm going to
Yeah,
send you the link now in case you want to check it out.
yeah. Share along the Google Colab notebook that you've got. You can just throw it into this chat for now, but we will also make a written description of where we're at with that extraction pipeline and put it in a GitHub issue on the repo, and I will share that out to the working group community. So if you've got any advice around it, or if there's anyone you can send the link to for it, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I would just say that is there a reason why like an ML like a why there is AI involved in the approach? Has there been an attempt to do a more simple like pattern recognition approach? And is there like a reason why that didn't work?
Okay, yeah, there is. So there are about, for Apache alone, there was 361 projects. And I'm pretty sure if I want to web script, I have to write custom script parts for individual websites because they are structured differently. So because the individual websites are structured differently, and I have about 361 projects to extract information from, and it becomes a very difficult task for me to write script that would be, oh wow.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the background noise, I can't parse it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
coming.
is it better now?
Yeah, it's a little bit better. I can also give it just a quick overview. So really the problem here is, and it's particular to the Apache Foundation projects, um, we are looking for secondary data or secondary affinity. So like trying to find a Slack, for example, or a blog that might be off of the register of the URL is very hard to do. You can do a ton of regexing and a ton of fuzzing in
Mhm.
that regexing, and we're still losing things. The like LLM crawl that we're using is designed to capture secondary and tertiary
Yeah.
connections.
Okay.
So that's why we're using it right now. But if we can, so if we're able to from that, then extract the principles by which we can create a very efficient query, then we will do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the attempt was made. This is just something that I had a professor tell me whenever I was an undergrad of kind of the mentality of all like taking the most simple approach at something, and then that when that doesn't work, going step and step up. And so I try to bring that methodology into any space that I do, right? Especially right now, because I think everyone like hops straight into being like, I need to make AI do this. I need to use an LLM. And like in this case, it does sound like you'll have looked at the approaches and have gotten to that point. And so that's, yeah, I
Yeah,
always
so
like to ask.
yeah, I gave it a first hit with my own scripts
Yes.
that usually work for this, and then I gave up and I gave it to Ernest, and they gave it a completely fresh try. And now I say, okay, we'll try whatever
I,
works. This like challenging crawling problem, but if we get it, it'll be cool.
crawling is so hard. Like this
Yeah,
is, yeah, this is the unfun side of it. But
Yeah.
it makes complete sense what process y'all have gone through.
Yeah, I mean, I did this for health websites like 8 years ago, and we had one specialized program for every single site and every single edition of the same software because nobody's ever using the same exact version. So the scraping is different, even if it's all, for example, like a PHP dashboard or something. So, but it's doable. Like you can break down the problem, you identify the targets, and you can do it. It just takes a lot of iteration.
yeah. Yeah. Well, this might be worth I mean it's something we can follow up in the next call, but like I think even like just meeting for 30 minutes or so and getting a few people that focus on this to come together and look at what we've put together and just do like a code review for this would probably
Yes.
get us over the edge here.
Yeah, especially if we have time in this call or otherwise, I always find it similarly of how feel about the practitioner guides, like having that like 10 to 15 minutes of having someone like verbally walk through what they're doing and their like mentality of it makes it so much easier to like do a more in-depth code review, at least for me, of like
Yeah.
kind of being able to center myself and what people are doing and what their intentions are.
Cool. So if you can give us 2 weeks until the next call, and if we can steal 15
Perfect.
minutes of code review time in this call, that would be very cool. Yes, send us all of the code that you have and we will see.
Yeah. So if you send me your GitHub, it's a private repo. So if you send me your GitHub IDs, I'll just add you to it. I don't remember all the things that are in it, so I don't want to just throw it public.
Cool. Yeah. No, that's great though. That would be helpful. I've thrown mine.
Yep.
And Ernest what you is. Yeah, so that's where we're sitting. That's the help we're looking for. And I will be making a little bit more noise about this. But I'll put up a post probably tomorrow on like specifically the 2 or 3 elements we really could use help with those links. And then if we can get any async attention on this inside or
Mhm.
outside of the data science group, we should be able to get back here in 2 weeks with all of our problems solved and a perfect script that everyone will want to use, I'm sure.
Okay, awesome. I have added that to the top of the future agenda items list. Cool. Yeah, and the other thing to just kind of mention, I think, when people are coming to us and asking us, how they can help, how they can participate in some of our data projects, I think the Foundation Stats one is the one to point them to. Because I'm data wrangling on the other one, and it's just not it's until we get some data in some Jupyter notebooks, there's really nothing for anyone else to do. It's kind of a one person thing just to sort some stuff out.
Yeah, and we're very open, we're very friendly, we're very desperate for more help.
Yeah, and you've got tasks for people to do, and I'm still trying to figure out what the data looks like. So I just want to make sure that we're pointing people to the project they can be the most productive, which it sounds like is this one,
Yeah, cool.
which is cool.
Okay, let me bring the agenda back up and see where we are at. Okay. So that's our update on all of the projects. We've got a future addenda items. Anything else that we want to add for the next? I think this is good. I've got my project on there, so I'm happy. Go ahead, Kelly.
Has somebody spoken about a contributor funnel in either this chat or this working group. Does that sound familiar to anybody that's not involved in Augur and 8-Knot?
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you qualified that because I know what you're talking about.
Yes. The answer is no, which is okay, perfect. Because there's somebody who's working on this more on the Augur and 8-Knot side and asking for feedback. And I have told them that this is actually the place that they should come for like data analysis feedback. And so I'm gonna nudge them again to reach out because it's interesting what they're doing, and I would like them to present it in here and get people's um feedback from more of a data analysis standpoint.
Yeah, that would be cool. Okay. Um, and I am happy we're doing a code review inside of this as well. I think it's a good use of this time. But for reminders, we have Digital Resilience Forum. Anyone want to speak to that?
Yeah, it's an event that's in Madrid, and it's kind of focused on digital sovereignty sort of topics. So it's free to attend if someone wants to come to Madrid. Um, so I will be there, which also means, sadly, Sal, I'm gonna miss your event on the 30th because I'm still gonna be in Madrid on the 30th.
All
Sad
right,
fate.
better weather.
Um, yeah. So yeah, so that was all I had on that one. And the second reminder was just about FOSS Backstage. So the CFP is open and it closes on October 27th. So we're getting to the point where we're starting to hit CFP deadlines for next year. So just a reminder to start thinking about the talks that you want to be giving at conferences next year. And this is a really good one if you happen to be based in Europe or not. It's worth traveling to. It's a really good conference.
Is the FOSDEM CFP up yet? No. Okay.
No. So the status of FOSDEM right now is that they have said that they think it will probably be that first weekend of February. So the what is it? Oh, I guess it's the January 31st, February 1st. But they haven't signed the agreement with the university yet. So until they sign the agreement with the university, then that process starts to open up. But the FOSDEM CFPs don't open until end of
Yeah,
October or
sure.
November, because the first bit is they open up the call for dev rooms. So they do the dev room proposals first, and then the call for presentations, and those are incredibly short and with not a lot of time. So if you think there's something you're going to want to do in FOSDEM, I would start thinking about it now, because those CFPs are going to open and close pretty quickly. But the plan is then to do a CHAOSScon the Thursday before, which I guess would be January 29th, and then State of OpenCon in the UK will be the following week, the 3rd and the 4th of February.
Okay, back to it. Back to
Uh,
events. Okay, excellent. Yeah, I think the one thing that I will just throw on here is, well, okay, let me just put this out here because it would probably be the people on this call. Is anyone interested and excited in the idea of doing a like virtual hackathon in October? Or is that just like slam in the middle of a bunch of events and would be challenging to do?
At least for me, slam in the middle of a bunch of events.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Um, if you're
But
in
there
the
are,
academic, yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say there aren't a ton of events in October. Like I've got this digital resilience forum, and that's all I've got in October. I know
Yeah.
Callie's got a bunch of Red Hat stuff.
Yeah, I October would be hard. The months that are, it's so like I'm like, oh, I want to do a hackathon in like the end of November, beginning of December, which is not when anybody else wants to do things. Because that's always the hard part of the year, because it's like if you're in academia, then you're in the pits of despair, and we'll see you on the other side. But it's when other things start to calm down, but then everyone has it just makes it complicated. And that's the one time where I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
would want to do a hackathon at that point in time, but
Yeah.
most people wouldn't.
Yeah, I think that's the feedback that I needed because like yeah, it's hard to do an online event when there's so many things going around in open source. So if we're not doing a hackathon, my last request is everybody put your feelers out, get us some help with this foundation stats. No matter their level, I have work that they can do on this. So it'd be cool. Kelly, go ahead.
I'd also consider maybe thinking or like what you're trying to do, it might even be better to not do a formal hackathon, but more gathering of specific people that you know actually want to do and work on it, and then do a like a doodle of some form and just come up with a day that works for your targeted audience, and then it being like a okay, everybody here is setting off these couple of hours to work on this and everyone's in that mindset and knows what's going on and is going to come in, and it being more of a working space. This is something that I've thought about a lot since our hackathon of being like, is the hackathon structure actually what I'm looking for here, or am I just looking for a coordinated working like time period with people?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, good thing I've got a little bit of DevRel experience. I'll get out there and get myself some contributors on this. But excellent. I think that's everything that we needed to cover for this week. Anything else that anyone wanted to cover? Okay, great. Then I will be seeing you all in 2 weeks, and almost everyone will be seeing you all again in 10 minutes on the next call. So, chat soon.
All right, bye everybody.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.